Okay. Hey. Hello. Okay. So you may realize that this looks like just a blank canvas and you're thinking, what are you watching? Well, folks, it is time to mask out this delightful cow's head. So I've got my masking fluid, and I've got my palette knife, which turned out to be a wonderful tool to do this. I got to knock out some of these bubbles though. And I feel like I'm going to use like this entire bottle. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay out this masking fluid over my cow because I don't want this to have any of the green background. So I'm going to lay this down today. We're going to let it dry because it doesn't take super long for this stuff to dry. I'm trying to get rid of some of these bubbles, guys. These bubbles are going to be a problem because it's kind of foamy because I just shook it up because some of the stuff was still stuck to the bottom. So, and I'm going to have to cover the whole thing just because of how I plan on adding paint to the green for the surrounding because it's going to be, eat grass. Or at least it's the background that I want to create is kind of this green mottled background. And so I'm going to end up needing to cover all of it because I don't want there to be anything kind of splattered. If it splatters onto the cow at all, I don't want that to carry over. So here we go. I hope everybody's having a great day, evening, whatever time it is when you happen to catch this. Because this is a lot of masking fluid, people. It's a lot of area to cover. My canvas takes up my entire table. I had to prep it a little differently to allow for this much surface area to be covered so I don't end up putting paint on my floors. One of these days I'll have a studio again. Woo! Boy howdy. I'll be in for it then. I like to paint large. And I like covering large spaces of canvas. And so kind of have this thing about being able to lay my canvas out and just being able to paint on it. Even take some of the canvas and be able to sew it together or make sure so that it's in kind of like panels or sections to make like really large installations, if you will, just because of the way I like to paint. So here we go. I feel like I'm spreading icing. Did I mention I like to bake? So yesterday was kind of exciting to get this mapped out and then to get the standing stones painting set up so that I can kind of live with it for a little bit. Look at it while I walk by, see if it really is finished. I don't know why I'm trying to line up to that one. That's got to go too. I'm going to cover that as well. So this is the one that I got to cover. This requires some level of concentration, I'm not going to lie. Ready to do cake decorating, you're going to recognize, look, pour some in the middle and then spread it around. to be careful because as it starts to dry, it gets a little tacky. And I don't want to peel it off or peel off sections that have started to dry and then get lumps, which I'm starting to get. So one downside to doing this is that the masking fluid starts to get such a large surface that I'm trying to cover. I'm keeping my masking fluid open and it reacts to the air. So if I was just needing to create a barrier, that would be great, but I am not. I need to ensure that none of this ends up with the green from the background. All right, so that's that went over. We're going to just pull some of that into the middle. And I'm going to add some here so that I can finish covering that area. This is probably the longest thing this is going to take me to do in this entire painting, is covering up the cow's head. Because of the way I paint, a lot of times it's fairly quick. Which is, you know, on the one hand is pretty nice as an artist. On the other hand, it's like, well, wait a second. You know, prep is half of your battle as an artist. If you get everything prepped properly, then the rest of what you need to do goes smoothly because you've prepped properly. And that is something that a lot of times that people don't recognize or realize when it comes to painting, is the amount of preparation that goes into being able to start painting, right? A lot of times people just videotape the, okay, I'm ready to paint now. And I have a good chuckle because I'm like, hey, I know you had to prep your paint. I know you had to do something to get ready to do all of this, and you kind of left that out. And I mean, and in all honesty, the painting part is the fun part, right? It's the piece that everybody wants to be able to see is you actually painting. But I think there's some value in being able to see, well, how did you get to that point? Like, what did you do to be able to start painting? Now, some folks do, like for paper, you just start with a blank piece of paper. You have an idea that you're running to do. You sketch it out, and you can kind of get started right away. Painting on canvas with watercolor, you know, it's not dissimilar an idea of, you know, having to, you got a blank canvas and now you have to start prepping it. And in essence, that is what I'm doing. I have my blank canvas and I'm sketching, except I've added this additional layer because I get to have a little bit more fun when I paint the way that I choose to paint. So, kind of excited. Now, I will say that this next, when this is dries, no, I'm not going to make you sit here and wait for it to dry and sit here and stare at it while it dries. That would be boring. But I've already decided I'm going to use a combination of a salt technique and alcohol. So I'm going to get both of those kind of textures in the painting. I have to be careful here because I have masking fluid on both sides of my spatula here. And I'm getting into kind of a hard to reach spot for me. And now the nice thing about being able to see this start to dry is that I can see spots that I missed and get them covered. And for real, I think I'm going to have to purchase another bottle of this. I think this is going to be my last one of these I'm going to be able to do until I replace my bottle of masking fluid. But this kind of stuff, getting it prepped, is part of the fun. This part, it gets to be kind of mesmerizing. It also lets you kind of get into your head a little bit about what you want to do, how you want to do it. Are you sure that that's the approach that you want to take? Because I thought about this a couple of ways. At first, I was going to just lay down my color and then use my spray bottle with my water in it, and then and spray, basically, as a means of being able to move the color around the canvas. All right, so I am likely to go into a space that you are not going to be able to see on this side as I get down towards the end of the horn here. Y'all, I am hoping I have enough masking fluid to do this. I'm going to be very sad. It'll be a much longer break if I don't. Run to the art store real quick. And there's no real quick about it. But I think that I have decided I'm going to take a slightly different approach to what I want to do. And while, yes, I'm going to lay my color out, I want to do this I want it to be kind of spotted, if you will. I don't, it may make more sense when I actually show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my canvas wet. I'm going to get the canvas wet. But I'm going to create spots of color and allow it to dry. So that I don't have, and then do additional, so that I'm going to do this in layers. They'll interact with one another. The colors will start to blend together a little bit, which is fine, but I do want to see some of those layers of color, and I think that's kind of where, but I'm still debating on whether or not I want to do that wet or dry, and I haven't quite decided yet. We'll see we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do a little bit of both. Because then if I like one over the other, I can just switch to one over the other, which is kind of a nice thing. All right. Now I may be off your screen. Let me get the tip of this horn. Y'all, I'm super excited to do this one. I can't even begin to tell you. It's very rare for me to do something that is has any kind of realism to it. So this kind of cracks me up on the one hand, because, like I said, I don't typically do anything that's associated to any kind of realism. And I'm having to make some adjustments. I don't know if you can see this. I drew this horn and then it looked a little funky. And so I started making adjustments to the line, and I'm having to, as I apply this masking fluid, decide which of these lines I want to use to define the horn. like it looked a little weird. It was a little too thin in some places, a little too thick in others. Yeah, I like. And so when this dries, I'm going to go in and I'm going to remove that background that I have. Oh, y'all, no joke. I managed to not use this entire bottle. How is that even possible? All right, so now I'm going around and I'm going to check for blind spots, so places where I can see that I missed, because this really is a large area to cover with masking fluid. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Just the sheer quantity of masking fluid that I'm using here. Let's get that covered. And I want to do this. I don't want to interfere with some of the spaces that are starting to dry. But I don't want, I don't wish to have any spots that end up getting splotches of green in them because it's not covered correctly. That would be not acceptable. Could I fix it? Yes, of course I can fix it, but if I can avoid it, I want to. All right, let's see. A couple of spots there. And then those of you who are looking at this and going, oh my gosh, that's way too much masking fluid. Yeah, well, I'm not taking any chances. And I've just realized, like, oh, there's this big clunk of gunk masking fluid inside this. All right, so I'm just gonna toss that down, seal this up. Oh, and you know what? I just had an idea. Oh, I wonder. Nah. Okay, what I was wondering is if I took and was willing to ruin one of my paintbrushes and flick masking fluid like around the outside edge, so it would create this kind of like dotted effect that would then be white. Whether or not that would be cool, and yes, it probably would be cool, but we are not going to do that with this particular painting. All right, so we are going to wait for this to dry. So I will see you in just a short minute. For you, it'll be no time at all. For me, about 10-15 minutes. And then let's get this party started. Oh, I like the fact that you can see almost all of the head. Now, okay, so here's the edge. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so that one edge is just off. Let's see how far. Oh, can you even see my hand? You're having, okay, so there's still a bottom edge down here that you're not able to see, and I want to see where it goes off. All right, and there's a good 4 inches this way off the screen that you're not able to see. And then here, let's see. Oh, but you are almost at the very top edge. You can see that. So that's pretty cool. All right, well, folks, I will see you in just a moment. It'll be no time for you. It's like a time lapse. It's pretty cool. All right, I'll catch y'all in just a few. Y'all, that's a long time to do that. All right, catch y'all in just a moment. All right, guys, the struggle has been real today. This is taking forever to dry, and I've been dying. Okay, so, oh, and then, by the way, I have a wrist brace on. Okay. When I knit or paint or do anything for extended periods of time, type, write, I aggravate what is in essence, I guess, carpal tunnel. So the tendons over here get swollen and inflamed, and it hurts. So if I wear this, I can keep going. Yay! Okay, I've been thinking about how I want to do this, and I keep kind of waffling back and forth. Because what I want is kind of this blurry background that's kind of modeled, but in a different kind of way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a layer of color, and I'm going to start with one of my darks, and I'm going to wet the entire canvas. I'm going to put drops down, and I'm going to use actually my palette knife, maybe if I can get all the masking fluid off, to kind of spread kind of some circles, but hopefully some ambiguous kind of circles. Let it dry, come back, wet it again, and then add additional color. Maybe. We'll see what happens when I'm in the flow, and what happens once it's all wet. So let's just get started. So I'm going to, I use an industrial just spray bottle. You can get at like any kind of home, I think I got mine at Home Depot, but it doesn't matter where. I'm sure you can get it online. Me and Amazon are the best of friends. And let's see if I can get this good and wet. I like using a sprayer because one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to get this nice and wet. Let me change how I want to do this. And I think I just did. All right, so I'm going to add, this is the dark, and the reason I'm going to change what I'm doing is that I'm using these concentrated watercolors. They operate a little bit differently than others. So I'm going to throw on my color. Notice I don't care if it ends up landing on my where I have the masking fluid. That's perfectly okay. Get some nice bright green going in here. Again, I'm going to start with I want the green. I want something that is mostly green. And y'all, I'm going to have to be careful. This is one big old canvas. I'm going to end up getting this all over my clothes. A nice bright moss green. And then, well, that's what is that? Apple green. So it's nice and bright. And then this one is a grass green. Oh, all right. Right there. All right. And then here's where it's about to get fun. So, water obviously is one of the ways that things flow, is the addition of water. More water the more movement I can create. So I'm about to add a whole host of water here. And then I'm going to work on moving this around the canvas. But I want lots of liquid. Lots of water, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of water. This is more water than I normally typically use. And then we are going to just use this palette knife and just move it around. Get it swirled. Well, I hold on to my shirt, y'all, for real. Like, this is going to be, because I want depth of color. I'm going to move this around and notice, okay, watercolor canvas doesn't always like to stay put. That's okay. One, I want this all the way out to the edges. I am okay if it runs off. Helps actually, because I've got a lot of water, okay, y'all, it's going to take significantly longer for this to dry for me. And that's okay. Don't mind that. Not in the least. And this is going to take me quite a bit of time to get this color to build up by doing it like this. But the next layers that I do are not going to require quite as much water because there'll be a layer of color already established. And I realize that I'm now kind of working off camera for you. If anybody has any ideas, y'all let me know how to resolve that one. That doesn't involve me laying out a massive quantity of cash. Because, you know, artist. And because, you know, well, just because. Alright, so I'm going to pull this down and over. I'm realizing that I've got some white space, which is fine. Again, this is going to take, now this is going to take forever and a day to dry. Like, okay. And I'm kind of looking to see where the color is starting to puddle a little bit. So that means that my canvas is not level. Okay, but I want it to go around the sides. It's trying to gather in the center. Well, not so much in the center, but it's pulling away from some of the spaces that I would like. All right, so because I've got it here, we're gonna move some of this down here so I can get it to here, there we go. Now what that does is that you're going to notice that now it looks like I've got less color down below, so we're going to now run it this way a little bit. I do want it to be a little darker down at this edge. And so part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that kind of olive green. I'm going to throw that on here. And we're going to move that around. Down here at the base so I can get that level of depth. Again, this is so very, very wet. I do not normally put quite this much water on my canvas, but I do want to be able to get this base layer down. And then I'm going to move some of this in here. Okay, so that the next round that I do will be a lot less water. And then here we go again. We're going to slide this back up because I want to spread some of this color around. And I get some of it to go that way. Some of it to go this way. Okay. Up. I do want it to go, let's see some of that depth of color down here at the bottom where it's all mixing. Okay, super fun. Where's that apple green? All right. All right, I want to get in here and spread some of this apple green across the top because I want more of that kind of bright color. To come in. Again, I know I've got this really hefty dark kind of. And I want to see this kind of really bright. Get this coming off the edge. And yes, as I am doing this, I am intentionally pulling some of this water off. And down the edge, one of the things that you can't see is that it actually gives me a really nice colored edge to my painting. Okay. Let's pull in here. I'm going to get that to kind of go off the edge. And this is why I have paper towels. Down the side on the bottom so that paint doesn't end up on my floor. Although I have to say, I think I might have put paint on my floor anyway. All right, I want this to settle. Even in some of the spaces that maybe I don't want it, I want it to settle. And I'm also going to pick up, yep, sure enough, green on my floor. Okay, we are going to let this, I'm going to tilt it up one more time because I want to see some of this water flow up at the top. Notice how dry it is up there. It's going to collect. It might go over the edge. And that's okay. And then I'm going to bring it right back down. And give this an opportunity to kind of settle. I'm seeing where I've got some real issues down here, but I'll be able to clean up the edges. You may or may not be able to see. See, I'm looking for my finger. Nope, let's see if I can adjust the camera just a little bit so you can see the edges. Okay, can you see how this edge is really light? So what that means is that the water is pulling in to the center of the canvas, which in this instance is okay. But this is going to be something that I'm going to have to come back in, and because I'm going to want to darken this up, right? I want to have some depth of color. But this is going to give me a really good start, but this is going to take quite a bit of time to dry. So I'm going to hit the pause button, and when you come back, it's like movie magic. It's going to be dry. Yay! All right. I will, you know what? This is about half an hour long. We'll let it go at this. First layer down, when you come back, this will be, when I come back to the next video, this will be nice and dry. And I'll be ready to add in the next level of color, because again, I want splotches. I want to be able to see these kind of circular pieces coming in, and I'll be able to do that, but with less water. But this is going to give me a nice good coverage, a nice good place to start. All right, I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.